Hey guys, Kevin TCG, and today we are attacking with Raging Bolt again. For my last video with Dragapult, I bought Prime Catcher for the deck. I've been running without it for a while. I haven't really even used Ancient Drone that much, so let's see. We'll see if Prime Catcher actually makes a difference. I've yet to use much Ace Specs in my time playing like any of these decks so far, but it's supposed to make it optimal. Today I'm running with the Arceus Legends playmat I got from Japan at one of the Pokémon centers, and I'm using my regular dice counter kit. So let's go ahead and get started, get some playtesting going in, and try to make top cut. Alright, so we're currently playing in a 36-player tournament, and round one, Archaludon. This is actually my first time playing against it. I believe like a full Archaludon deck. I played like some variant, but it wasn't like the full thing. And this is the return of my Raging Bolt, and it's been a minute, and I forgot there are some decks faster than Raging Bolt, if they're lucky. So I probably had the funkiest hand in the beginning. I had an Ogerpon in the active, a Fez on the bench, and a Squawk on the bench. And I had two Sadas, a Prime Catcher, and a Boss's Orders. So I had to get rid of that hand because there wasn't anything for me. There wasn't any energy in the discard, just not worth it. So I had to Squawk and seize that hand away. But it's not like it really would matter that much because I wasn't able to pull a Raging Bolt to put down on my bench and then hopefully play something else. I did Teal Dance, and that didn't give me anything. So I wasn't really able to do anything until my second turn, but I was able to find two Sadas like during my second turn, but my opponent pulled out Archaludon from his Duraludon, and he went for the turn 2 knockout on my Ogerpon, which in hindsight I think I should have put Squawk up there in the active, especially since he was going turn 1. And it kind of went downhill from there because his Dialga V-Star had Chronos Trigger. I think that's the ability name, and it allows him to attack twice. So after attacking twice, he got me for 2 more prize cards, and yeah, that was that. That was a quick game. I mean, it was 15 minutes, but he was able to knock me out in half the time. That's pretty quick. I think it would have been a little closer if I was able to manage his Duraludon early game, because he had it on his bench in the Greninja and his active. So if I was able to get that out, it would have slowed down the process a little more before Dialga and another Duraludon came into play. So I guess I could have Prime Catchered that up to put a little pressure on that Duraludon, but again, I didn't pull Raging Bolt until my very next turn and not my first turn. So it's all about who gets the first knockout with Raging Bolt, in my opinion. So on to the next match. Oh, I've been playing every single match pretty much down to the wire. I finally had some time to record. So round 2. I'm currently 1 and 2. This was against Feraligatr, which I personally love. When I played the, was it Twilight Masquerade pre-release? And Feraligatr was one of the pre-built decks. He like mollywopped me for like 240 damage. And it was a single price deck, so I had to pick him off one by one. He knocked out my Ogerpon and Raging Bolt, so he was down to like 2 prize cards left, and I eventually came back. Because unfortunately he didn't have a bench with Totodiles, and every time he had a Totodile, I used like Pokemon Catcher or Counter Catcher or even Boss's Orders to bring it up and knock it out. And he had Monkey Dory on there, which is super frustrating because Feraligatr self-damage and then he spreads to my Pokemon. But yeah, that was a really close one, and I came back for a win. Going into round 3, currently 1 and 2, and this was against Tina, Lost Tina. We were both down to 1 prize each. We went into overtime, and I think it was turn 2 for his turn, and my Raging Bolt was all built up. Sandy Shocks was doing damage to his, these guys, the ones with the flowers, where you look at a card and you put in your Lost Zone. So he was making work out of that. I Counter Catchered the last turn to bring up his Tina up to the active, and I knocked him out with Raging Bolt. Unfortunately, he had Ursaluna, Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, came in, knocked me out, and that was game. And we he almost decked out, and then he had Iono or like Super Rod and all these other shenanigans. So every time I thought I was gonna win, he came back. So that was like really down to the wire. And compared to last week, this is completely different where I'm actually going through the progressions and going deep into the matches, whereas I struggled last week. So definitely used to running with Bolt. And then round 4, so that's a win. So I'm currently, hold on, let me tell you, 1 win. Win, loss, loss, win. Oh, I'm 2-2. And this was against Dragapult Dusknoir. My bench was built. Early on, I got like the perfect hand. By like my second turn, my bench was built. I had 2 Ogre Pawns and a third later, mid to late game. I had Professor Sada's coming in. He Iona'd me. No, he Roxanne me super late game. And fortunately, and fortunate for me, I was able to get an Earthen Vessel and energy retrievals, put the energies into Ogre Pawns, and then search for energy to build up my second Bolt because I was missing Sada. And then I had Counter Catcher. I prayed to Arceus, the Pokemon gods, rolled heads, and called up his Pheasantipity and got the knockout. Currently 2-2. If I go negative, that's fine, but already doing so much better. On to, I believe, the final match of the night. All right, my boy Jake is buying another Prismatic Evolutions booster pack. He pulled the Master Ball Umbreon. Ooh, I wonder what he's gonna get. Okay, so if you hear screaming, that's probably why. Round 5. I am currently 3-2. So there's one more match after this, so I could definitely go 500. Still positive in my book. It was against Archaludon, however you want to pronounce it. It was against my boy AJ. Always a pleasure playing with you, man. We always give it our all. So we went literally blow for blow after like we each set up. We both set up relatively fast, beginning to mid-late game. And he actually got the first knockout, and he extended his Badoo 3 times. He kept retreating it. He'd hit, and then he'd retreat it somehow, and stuff like that. That Badoo's so frustrating. But with Raging Bolt, you don't really need to counter it. Sandy Shocks does his works and knocks it out, but not for this one, not for this game. Unfortunately, his Archaludon only hits for 220, so at one point, Raging Bolt tanked 1 hit mid-game. And that's where the tide kind of turned, because I was able to catch up, and that's where I got the 2 prize card advantage on him. He Iona'd me at key points in the game, but I, had 2 Ogre Pawns. He knocked 1 out. I had 1 replaced with a Nest Ball. Pheasantipity did its job, and I was just able to pull off 1 last Professor Sada to seal the win. So again, AJ, always a pleasure playing with you. On to the next round. All right, final game of the night. I end up with a loss at 3-3, so 0.500, positive record overall. Not bad. It feels good to return to something a little more consistent than what I've been playing the last few weeks. As seen there, played against my boy JPEG. How dare you? How dare you place a Roulette and use Judge mid to late game and then get ahead of me in prize counts? Even though I managed to get Sada's like super late, even if I recovered, I needed a Bravery Charm or I needed an Ancient Booster Capsule, and I think I would have been okay. So close. Even if I would have won, I don't think I would have bubbled into the top 8, because all the other guys, they look pretty good. So we'll go home and we'll recap, and yeah. Yeah, so I'm a casual player. I won't lie, I am extremely casual. Casual competitive. I like playing in the competitive scene. I'm not very good at playing the Pokemon trading card game, but I always have a blast playing it. Hence, these vlogs right here. Raging Bolt was actually my first proper meta deck that I built. I built like a Miraidon deck variant. It was a Roaring Moon plus a Miraidon. And that combination, it worked, but it wasn't consistent, and I want to start winning a little more consistency. So that's why I chose Raging Bolt, because I knew within the past couple of months it's always been a top competitor. It's always in the top 64 rankings or so on and so forth. And it wasn't until recently it started to die down in popularity, but it's starting to pick up steam a bit more again. And even throughout its ebbs and flows of popularity through like local play, it's still a completely consistent deck, like day in and day out. Sure, I went 500, I went 3-3, but I was getting wins. I was getting deep into games, and the games I did lose, they were just minor mistakes or tweaks that I could have adjusted early on. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great deck, and obviously that's the same sentiment it's always been. So Raging Bolt can make you a much more consistent player, especially if you're newer to the meta. It's a great beginner-friendly deck, at least from my experience. Now when it comes to the new meta and what's going to happen after April, which is when rotation starts, Raging Bolt still has a place in the TCG, and I'm sure you've seen other videos and done a lot of research through like other news-related sites. Raging Bolt just loses a little bit of its consistency. Even I made a video about how to possibly improve upon it for April. And Japan is already seeing a lot of use of Raging Bolt. It's one of the more popular decks. But yeah, so let's go ahead and recap each round. All right, so the first round I went against Archaludon, and that, I think I was just dead drawing. Skill issue on my half for not shuffling cards. Good enough. Round 2 was against Feraligatr, which is also seeing quite a bit of play in Japan. And that, again, is a single price deck. And that actually put me through a loop, because Feraligatr can one-hit KO Raging Bolt if you don't have any tools attached. And especially if they have a jamming tower, which they did, you can't attach any tools to your Raging Bolt to take any more hits. So yeah, I mean, you just really have to be consistent in attacks early in the game. Like, even if it's a single prize card deck, try to get their single prize Pokemon out. Like, whether it's an engine or a main attacker, just try to get them out as fast as possible. Round 3, it was against Tina, and again, that was a really good match. This was one of the ones where I really went deep into the match. At least when I'm playing Overtime, I view it as like a good indicator that both of us are really going through it. We're doing something good on both of our ends. Unless you're, purposely drawing time, but that doesn't really happen, thankfully, to me. I had a great time going through the beginning and middle of the game, knocking out his Comfies. But I really struggled in the beginning to knock it out early enough, because I think it was maybe 2 turns in, I didn't get a knockout. So he had time to build up his Lost Zone to hit for a free attack, and I had enough time to build up a Raging Bolt and find some other cards that I needed to keep that consistency going each turn. Especially if it's just a 1-cost energy in the discard pile with my attack, because most of the Pokemon have less than 70 HP or something like that. Or they might have 80 and I just have to spend 2 energy. It wasn't until really that late game when he laid down that Tina and I had to pull it out before he could use that V-Star move to knock me out. But, they always have backup plans, because Blood Moon Ursaluna EX came in, and there's nothing you could really do about that, because when they hold it in the hand, it's not on the bench. It's that secret threat. And with Blood Moon Ursaluna, they hit exactly for 240, and I didn't put any tools on. I didn't put any tools on Raging Bolt. I think I did, and he lost vacuumed it like mid-game. So yeah, it's just it's It's not really a skill issue, I just gotta knock out his Pokemon a whole lot sooner. And that's the thing. I wasn't pulling the cards I needed in the first couple turns, so that really does slow things down. But, you know, it benefits us both, but in the end, he had the whole end game strategy where he's gonna go sweep for the win. Round 4, Dragonolt. Round 4, Dragapult Dusknoir. I playtested against that deck, and I have a variant of that deck with Dragapult Iron Thorns. When I playtest against myself, Raging Bolt always came on top, and then when I looked on forums online, Raging Bolt has the edge. And yeah, he's tanked. He was tanky. He could eat 2 hits before he's knocked out. So Dragapult really wasn't an issue. He didn't knock anything out too crazily. However, in one turn, he did knock out 2 of my Pokemon, and he took 4 prize cards. That did scare me quite a bit, actually. But I had the upper hand and managed to go through my prize card progression pretty quickly. In round 5, I mentioned this in round 1 recap, Archaludon. Again, we got deep into our match. I had a lot more success in this one. And the real turning point is because Raging Bolt has 240 and Archaludon only hits for 220, I was able to take one hit because I was able to build up second after him. I built up slower than my opponent. So during that turn, I believe he already knocked one of my Pokemon out. And then I also knocked one of his Pokemon out. And he was about to knock my Raging Bolt out again, but because I was able to take the hit and knock him out, I had the prize card advantage and I won through that way. Yeah, I really like Archaludon. We'll see if I'm gonna build that deck. First, I really want to get good with Iron Thorns, Dragapult, and also get really good with Raging Bolt because there's a regionals that was announced. It was kind of shadow dropped, Portland regionals. And for longtime viewers of this channel, you guys know what's up. Another regionals vlog. I had a ton of fun in LA. I was supposed to go to Portland last year. The plans fell through, but this time, definitely going. So I'm planning on taking Raging Bolt. So I have to get good with Raging Bolt now and good with Raging Bolt in its future build. And then the final round, this was against Cerulege. Yeah, I mean, I just had no way to tank a hit. I could not get tool cards for the life of me. I think they were in the middle of my deck or at the bottom of my deck each time I shuffled it. So I couldn't get a Bravery Charm, I couldn't get an Ancient Booster Capsule. It was either in my prize card or deep in my deck, and he had that one prize card advantage. So if I could have done what I did against Archaludon, I would have won that match, and I probably would have been 4-3 for the night. But yeah, I'd say, you know, 3-3. Successful night for myself. Not too bad. Not great. Not horrible. I really enjoy Raging Bolt, and hopefully for the next for the next tournament I play, I'm able to pick up the pace and go a little above 500, and we'll chase for that top 8 pricing. So, what are your thoughts on Raging Bolt? What are your thoughts on meta decks in general? Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to play any specific deck. I'll try. Deck building is kind of expensive, not gonna lie. A Raging Bolt costs like over $100 if you were to start from scratch, which is basically what I did. Not counting like the trainers, but those Pokemon cost a lot of money. But Raging Bolt I think is a great entry. You might have an easier time starting off with Charizard. Charizard is a little bit more complicated than Raging Bolt, but you have that League Battle deck. Just learn how to play that and then build upon it and you're good to go. Charizard's a fine deck to start with. If you've enjoyed this content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more videos in the future. With that being said, my name is Kevin TCG, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.